Hey folks, I think we're waiting for Afua to uh join. Mm. Ooh, something's going
I'm
on.
just having to. I'm having to join on my phone, which is so weird.
Hello.
Hi, Miss Anne.
Hello, late night people.
I
Well, not
wasn't
late night.
expecting this camera. I'm going to clean it. This is the real version. Real, no frills. Yeah, I love how late night our people are. These really are our people, Miss Anne.
They are. They are the empaths. Yeah, the refuse to look away. It's beautiful.
The real ones. It's been crazy. The number of times in the last week I was like, I really need to talk to Miss Anne because
Man.
what the hell is going on out there, man? It's been so crazy. I don't even know where
It's
to start.
uh, yeah. I mean, I last time we spoke, I can't even remember. Did had he threatened to annihilate the whole
I
of
don't.
Iran?
I don't think we've spoken since the annihilating your civilization comments.
Okay. So basically in the last I guess 2 weeks we've had all sorts of things, but if we're just talking about some of the really big ones, it's the extraordinary statement by Donald Trump that honestly I don't think it should be taken lightly or because it didn't happen. I was on stage with Akala in the Royal Festival Hall
Tell
with
us about that, by the way, because I think a lot of the people watching this would have appreciated that pairing of you and Akala. And
it was
he's a friend of mine too. We talked like, how did that go? What was the conversation? What was the audience?
I mean it was part of his State of the Nation sort of tour, and I was honored to sit with his big mind. But it was extra unique because everyone in it sold out. I don't know, 2,800 people, Royal Festival Hall, didn't know whether in the morning we would be really at war in terms of a a nuclear attack. Because that's what, if someone uses a language that he used, we've never had a commander in chief of that nation speak about any nation in that way in our life. So, although we treat it like it's just another episode of the Crazy Show, but
Yeah.
for there was a sense in the air of we are in this limbo of trying to get on with our lives, but we also know that there is an ethno madness within its supremacist actions that is beginning to get very, very, very scary. And Carla spoke beautifully about the cycles of history and everything else. But I think for a lot of people in the audience, we would have all been, very relieved. It wasn't even in the morning. I think by a few hours later, he had already said that he's giving, the nation state of Iran a 2 week grace period. It's just mad, absolutely mad. And then just before that, we had their apartheid hanging law, which we were all supposed to just think is normal, right? And that was really interesting because that was the first time some of my very pro-Israel former friends, I now call them, messaged me saying, "Oh, Miss Anna, I know we're not on the same side as this, but I can't possibly agree with any hanging law." And I'm like, this is where you begin to see the madness.
It was the noose pins that
Mm.
got me so close that I thought it was AI. I was like, because the thing about it, right, is that usually in conflicts, whether it's an ideological conflict or a physical military conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and you know this as a storyteller, I know this as a writer. Like when you're writing characters, even if you're writing a villain, a, a, for a villain to be a believable character, they need to be the hero of their story. They need to make sense to themselves. You need to be able to believe that they believe they're right. If you write a villain who's just like, I'm just evil and I just like doing evil shit, it's not interesting. It's like a caricature, right? It's not like a person. The
Yeah.
people who are the most like sinister are the ones who genuinely believe that they're right and everyone else is wrong. And that's obviously not to excuse it. It's just to understand the psychology, and that's how you can even connect with the darkness of what people do when they do like harmful and destructive things, is that they actually think they're right, or they have some narrative that justifies it. When I see those Zionists in the Knesset wearing noose pins and then celebrating toasts about people they're going to fast track to execution, they start to feel like cartoon characters. Like, no one is this evil. Like, even people who are pro death penalty usually will be like, it's with their heavy heart that I think there's no alternative for dealing with these criminals because XYZ. And again, I couldn't disagree more strongly. And I think that's still a really dark, sinister narrative. But it's not. And this is the thing about like the Zionists, the Trump, the MAGA. It's like, yeah, war, yeah, annihilation, yeah, murder, yeah, genocide. It's so weird. And actually, this is one of the things we did want to talk about was the magazine cover. In Italy, that
L'Espresso, yes.
L'Espresso, which is one of Italy's oldest news magazines. I think it was founded in the 1950s. So it's like decades long history of social commentary. And this edition, can you share it, Misan? Because I'm not on my laptop, but I know you can share it. They put out a magazine cover that is a photo. It's photojournalism. It is a real image of an IDF soldier mocking a distressed Palestinian woman while taking a photo or selfie or whatever of the occupation, of the war. And it's as you know this better than anyone, the power of an image to capture the cruelty of humanity and the empathy and the kindness and the
And
potential.
it's not AI. I mean, this is the extraordinary thing, right? It's I'm just going to find it. It's amazing the reaction from, again, sociopathic or genocidal maniacs on the internet saying that it's an offensive image. It's an undoctored image. It is the real thing, and I find it amazing that people are accusing the photographer and the magazine of you guessed it, anti-Semitism for what for posting an image of something that happened in real time. It's crazy.
I'm trying to share it. Can you see my screen share or no? Nothing is working on my situation. I don't know why.
We'll get there.
You still can't see it on the. It's like I'm on it, but my laptop is on it, but it's not on it.
Really?
Yeah, so weird. Anyway, it's an image that's gone completely viral, and it's been accused of being anti-Semitic, which is so interesting to me. It's not doctored and it's not AI. It is an image that's capturing something that is actually happening, that is, by the way, well documented, that's affecting not a few people, not even a few 100,000 people, but now millions of people. And it's drawn all this criticism for being unflattering. So, it's an interesting time with images because it ranges from Pete Hegseth banning the press corps from the Pentagon because he doesn't like the photo angle they're using when they take pictures of him because he thinks it's unflattering.
Really?
I mean, he's banned, I think 2 photographers have been banned from the Pentagon because Hegseth's team felt that the images they took as journalists weren't flattering. We saw something similar in the White House. And now we've got like really serious photojournalism depicting what is legitimately happening in the occupied Palestinian territories being accused of being unflattering. Like, that's not how journalism works.
No.
Nowhere in the definition of journalism does it say, make sure you flatter the people inflicting mass harm and casualties. That's literally the opposite of the job.
And as a photographer, I can tell you, and I'm amazed that I'm even saying this, but the amount of times I've posted, especially when I post anti-Zionist Jewish people, I get the bots just appear saying that it's AI.
Yeah, my anti-Zionist Jewish friends, they get really. I think you've got to put this in perspective. There are people who are dying and whose children are dying, who are losing their homes and losing everything. And, we are sitting here on Substack in our comfortable homes talking about it. My Jewish anti-Zionist friends are also coming at it from a position of privilege and some distance, but there is a way in which being attacked from your own community, it's really nasty. Some of the attack, the way they're being attacked, the way they're being accused of betrayal or perpetuating harm in their own community. I know, even though they have confidence in their convictions, they picked this as a hill they're willing to die on. Metaphorically, it's hard, man. It's hard. One of my Jewish friends said, this is the hardest few years of his life, and he's sometimes really struggled to question whether he'll get through it because he feels like a pariah among the people that he loves and whose opinion he values. And it's a heavy price to pay for just
And
speaking.
they're feared. I mean, they are really dangerous against the machinery of empire and ethno supremacy, because I've never seen such refusal, and I've said this before with you, from all of my most influential journalist friends. And they try. It's not like they say no. They take it to their editors and sub-editors saying, look, we've got 50 extraordinary images by Misan over years now of these anti-Zionist Jewish protesters, and they won't run it. But what's even more interesting is that I only get bots saying my images are AI when I post them. I never get bots saying it's AI when I post anyone else. I never get bots saying it's AI when I post about, protests from Sudan, Congo, even Iran. Nothing. But as soon as I put someone that looks like they are presenting as a Jewish pro-Palestinian activist, AI. Just my whole comment section, AI, AI, AI. What is this AI slop? And I think it's actually the same vein as this L'Espresso magazine, actually, where many people said it was a fake image. And I'm like, dude, nah, that's real. There's a video of the exchange on X. It's very, very real.
It's also not an image that's been taken completely out of context and manipulated. It's
No.
a documentation of something that is happening.
Yes, they're saying it's an anti-Semitic trope because the guy, they're saying he looks like he's a caricature. I'm like, that's what he looks like. I'm sorry, you know.
Okay. So speaking of AI doctored images, are you religious, Miss Al? I must have asked you this before, but like, are you self-identify as a Christian or with any other faith? Do you follow any scripture? Like, what's the deal?
Whilst my good mother is on this earth, I am a Christian.
Come correct.
You think I'm a madman? Where's my Bible? I'm a Christian. God is good.
So, do you believe in the Antichrist? Is what I want to know, Miss Anne. And follow-up question: has he now appeared in the form of Donald J. Trump? This is serious question, and I ask it because some of the MAGA Christian crew who have been, this is another bafflement, like they've been fine with everything else that Donald Trump has done, but him posting on socials that he is Jesus Christ healing the sick is a step too far. And now they're like, he's the Antichrist.
Well, I saw the Knights
It's not
of the
really
Templar.
about the matter, but I am enjoying it.
It's crazy. And there are all these far-right skulls and crossbones groups that are coming out. The Knights of the Templar came out saying, we've always supported you.
Who knew the Knights of the Templar was still a thing?
I'm like, who is this? Who is they have an X page. I'm like, what? Saying we've always supported you and we were one of the reasons you won. I'm like, the Knights of the Templar is a what? It's like this all coming out. I was like, this is crazy. Every conspiracy theory that I have,
but there is a serious side to it, because there's another podcast I listen to called Higher Learning. I don't know if you ever listen to it. It's really good. I like it. Don't agree with them on some things, but I really like it. And they were basically saying it's completely reasonable for Trump to be confusing himself for Jesus. And the reason that's reasonable is that he has been behaving like a Messiah. His followers have been treating him like a Messiah. They've been believing and accepting every crazy thing he's said. They've been willing to forgive every obvious immoral transgression he's made. They've been willing to unconditionally question his friends and his family, regardless of their wrongdoing. And he's created this like cult-like persona around him. And so in a way, it's like, of course he's gonna start to think that he
He
actually is
he is
a
the
Messiah,
son
and
of God. Okay.
expect that
Wow.
to be kind of uncontroversial among his followers. So pity Donald Trump, because this was the moment he realized that there was actually a limit to as to how far he could push that, because he that is how much he's been getting away with to this point, that he didn't really realize that anyone would feel this was any different from all of the nonsense
Well,
he's
and
been.
threatening the Pope. I mean, this is all linked to an arg. Him literally threatening the Vatican and the Pope. I mean, it's got to, it's got to a place now where he is like, I am Tony Soprano of the world, and if you've got a problem, you know what's going to happen, and he'll say that to anyone.
I do feel like in a world where the Catholic Church is the voice of reason, to me, I know there are Catholics for whom the Catholic Church has always been the voice of reason, but I suspect even Catholics who listen to us know that the Catholic Church has some problems in its track record and its general intervention in social equality and liberation. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church is starting to sound like it makes total sense. Like it is the voice of reason. Like it is grounded in complete morality and a love for equality and peace. That is the world that we're in right now. The Pope seems like a person that I would much prefer in the White House, to be quite honest,
Oh
than
hell yeah.
the democratically elected president of the US. So I mean, that is not an end time scenario, but I do feel like it's just interesting to me that the people who have such a kind of absolutist view of the world and such a kind of apocalyptic way of interpreting things, who thought Donald Trump was part of the answer, are now weaponizing that same way of looking at things against him. And that is one show I am going to sit back and watch, because, when they loved him, I thought it was nuts. When they think he's the Antichrist, I also think it's nuts. Although I have got more time for that theory, honestly, than any other I've heard coming from the evangelical right. So I'm just putting that
I
out.
don't think he cares at this point. I think he is the mad king. It's gone to a place where he has pushed all the limits, and when I say we, all of the enablers in both the Republican and Democratic Party and Congress, all of it, have allowed this monster to fully climb out of its incubus, and we are dealing with it in high fidelity now. There is nothing, or there's no one in the world that I know of that can stop this man. And I'm not saying this as a fan, but if we're living in a fact-based world, he, you know, kidnapped the president of Venezuela. He, through a nudge or two from Israel, has started an illegal war that is bringing the world's economy down, at the very least, that has rewritten the whole worldview of the GCC. He is spending $2.5 billion a day on munitions alone on this war, when people are setting up GoFundMe's for insulin in his own country. And let's not talk about all the numerous sexual assault and criminal cases that, none have gone his way. Yet he is by far the most powerful human being on earth. And actually, the most powerful human being that we have seen on this earth for a long time, because there are absolutely no checks and balances on his behavior. This is where we are. And Afua, tell me if I'm exaggerating, but this is what we're dealing with. And Europe, apart from Spain as a major power, an island, of course, but Europe has just watched and said yes, Amasa, to all of it. All of it. Although say
I,
it's
I,
unfortunate.
I can't, there's nothing you said I can disagree with, but I just want a reality check. I don't know if you saw the post by Iran, who I think we can all agree is completely nailing the social media game in this war. And actually, it's a really interesting, serious story, because I was reading about the amount Iran has been investing in production houses and creatives over the last decade. And it's been a very strategic, forward-looking decision that actually this is going to be a way that they are going to be able to dominate, is by starting to really curate and develop a very distinctive style of social media content that speaks to, I mean, they're using hip hop, they're using Tupac. Like, it's some of it, I don't know if you've been watching the Lego
I have.
animation.
I didn't see it coming, but it's
It,
become a thing.
it's
Yeah.
It's so effective. What I wanted, they put out today a post and it said Trump 2028, but the 2028 was $20.28, and it was so effective because what they were capturing was the fact that you can keep Trump in power and prices are going to keep spiraling. And so the reality I want to offer is that almost every major revolution I can think of in history has not started because of moral outrage
Yeah.
or because of constitutional sanctity. It started because people couldn't afford shit. And people, often middle class people who have expectations of a certain quality of life,
Hmm.
started to not be able to afford shit. So if you look at the French Revolution, where there was a food crisis, if you look at the Russian Revolution, where there was a food crisis, if you look at the Arab Spring, where
Yep.
obviously all these revolutions, there were a lot of geopolitical and domestic political issues, but it actually, the straw that broke the camel's back
Mhm.
was not being able to afford the price of consumer goods, crucial food, fuel, household items that tip people over the edge. If Americans, who, as we know, are addicted to oil for their AC, for their cars, for all aspects of their life, if they start to find the quality of their life even more unaffordable than they're currently finding it, that is a way bigger threat to Donald Trump than any lawsuits, any opposition party,
I
wherever they
agree.
are,
I agree.
any international pressure, any bilateral or multilateral talks, any threats of sanctions, any danger of being a pariah on the world stage, any backlash on social media. That is the thing that is going to hold him accountable. And what took me by surprise is how fast he's heading there, which speaks to the complete lack of strategy in his inner circle, who clearly
Mhm.
won't tell him the truth and won't say no to him. But he is fast tracking his own destruction. And that is the
It's
only
going to be
reason that
ugly as well. It's going to be really
it's
messy.
ugly and it's painful. But, I am sad that it's taking this for people to wake up to the havoc and destruction and suffering he's causing. But this is
Well,
what it
it's
is.
yeah, and Biden was, you know, Biden was very responsible for 18 months of genocide, and then Trump came in, and for many of us, and I'm embarrassed to say, it took me longer than I would like to admit because, again, I was naive. I realized that there's no
You
real
to
difference.
not think that you could support Biden.
To just think, that the Democrat and Republicans, it didn't actually matter when it came to imperialism, right? It did, in terms of, certainly their policies differ up onto a point, not with Israel. With Israel, it's just across the board, or the leadership of the Democrat, Chuck Schumer is massively pro-Israel. Do not be Pelosi, all of them. And then when we saw what's really been happening, I was with many Palestinians in Barcelona this weekend, and they're tired, deeply traumatized, tired people. And I said, I think you can't see it, but I can tell you, as someone that is from outside but trying to help, Palestine in many ways is the layer cake of many regular people understanding what Western imperial hegemony really is. And it is even bigger than just a Palestinian cause, because I am now meeting middle class folks, from wherever, Middle England, from Ohio, that are saying things like, you know, we are a Sessler occupying force that was successful, talking about America and saying that, of course, Israel and America would understand themselves because, they are related in many ways. And I'm just, people are speaking like this much more. And, Palestine has made people look at Iran in a very specific way, has made people understand that Lebanon, Margaret Thatcher in 83 was tougher because of the Israeli invasion of Lebanon, was tougher on Israel than Keir Starmer is today. She actually did do, and I'm no Thatcher fan, I'm just saying the truth. This is how little we have done today. And in the Shatala massacre in 83, this country that we live in was way tougher on Israel than we have been after a 2.5 year actual live stream genocide.
I mean, to the point of how much the US and Israel have in common, the thing, I don't think we've spoken since the Supreme Court birthright case in the US, to hear the Trump administration thinking about the question of whether Native Americans are entitled to
Mm.
birthright citizenship.
Can
And
you
that's
imagine?
the question that was seriously being discussed. And then for them to be like, actually not sure, probably not. Literally no words. It's 2026.
Can you
And
imagine?
they
Yeah,
feel okay with the fact that they are going to take some time to think about whether they feel Native Americans are entitled to birthright citizenship in the United States. I mean, it doesn't get more like 101 of settler colonialism than that. It's so real and it's so live. And it's absolutely true that the entire US establishment, just like, by the way, the entire British establishment, and this is the thing, to the disappointment we have with Labour, also to not forget that Labour has not been materially different in policy when it comes to the legacy of colonialism and slavery. No Labour leader has ever supported reparations, has ever made a formal apology for colonialism and slavery, has ever done anything remotely meaningful to address the neo-imperialist relationship that Britain still has with the African continent, a continent where, by the way, Britain owns an amount of land 4 times the size of Britain on the African continent, where African goods, raw commodities, agriculture, and minerals continue to flow massively disproportionately to British companies, where they then are funneled into offshore accounts in other former British colonies or still British colonies in the overseas territories. And it's unchanged, And the only difference between Labour and the Conservative Party in that respect is that Labour have made it sound more progressive while
yeah,
doing the same thing. The entire British establishment has locked down the possibility of any real honesty about how oppressive and exploitative that relationship is. So it's the same. And, this is, again, the only silver lining I look for is that these scenarios wake people up to the fact that
yeah,
the Labour Party won't save you. The Democrats won't save you. I'm not saying it's not better to have them. It wouldn't be better to have a Democrat in charge than Trump. Honestly, I don't think anything could be worse than
yeah.
Trump. But I also think the complacency of thinking if we just get this Democrat, we just get this Labour leader and we're good, we're heading in the right direction. Like, obviously, it hasn't worked like that.
No, no.
It won't change until we change it.
Well,
But one thing I do think is very interesting is the way in which being friends with Trump to everyone else in the world has gone from being a flex to a massive liability. Like, have you noticed how Nigel Farage never mentions the name Trump anymore?
mm,
Like,
mm,
that used to be his biggest boast. Like, I'm friends with Trump. I will bring Britain closer to MAGA. I'm the Trump whisperer. Suddenly he's dropped that rhetoric.
yeah,
Like Viktor Orban, when JD Vance went to Hungary to bolster Viktor Orban's prospects of being re-elected, it kind of tanked his election campaign, honestly. And
yeah.
these guys have become toxic. No one wants, except with one exception, though, one exception, and that's our good friend David Lammy, who
Hey,
didn't a memo because he's still bragging about
did you see the
Trump
tweet?
with JD Vance. It's so embarrassing.
I have to read the tweet. I mean, I'll read it word for word. This is what David Lammy said. Great to catch up with my friend, JD Vance, today in DC following his talks in Pakistan. It is vital the ceasefire continues. What ceasefire, number one? And we get shipping flowing freely through the Straits of Hormuz. We continue to work together toward a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. My sister, what's so painful is having been in Spain and seeing a a proper major city, Barcelona, be completely on the right side of this and have Donald Trump threaten the whole nation state. He threatens not Donald Trump, sorry,
So you said you were in
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Barcelona. You said you were in Barcelona and been in Spain. Talk to us about Spain, because Spain has also become, like, at the moment, the beacon of light. Like, this is what it looks like. And you know what? My basic view of European nations is like colonizers who've yet to repent, who occasionally say something that sounds good, but also tend to be on the wrong side. The whole EU has always been a white supremacist project, much as I still didn't want Britain to leave it. That's how bad Brexit was. Spain is a total outlier in not just talking the talk, but walking the walk of humanity, Palestinian rights, equality, welcoming migrants, being honest about how much it needs migrants, and that if you need their labor, you have to give them dignity. Like all kinds of issues. Suddenly Spain is like,
I don't know.
go
It's
on. What's
remarkable.
going on?
It's
What's going on there, Nissan? What's the vibe? What's the reason? How did it feel to be there?
I don't know the exact reason. Obviously, the Catalonia and the Catalan people have always had their own sense of independence, and also the Spanish know fascism well, right? And I think there's a muscle memory in seeing what it is, and we don't use that word enough, but I mean this is fascism in America and in Israel. And they have a 55-year-old president that can use the internet and read a book, right? That seems to be an adult and has repeatedly made the right calls. I see he's probably having trade talks in China a few days ago. I think, honestly, that the winds of change are blowing so fast in regards to Spain being a leading voice in a new type of diplomacy that you're either going to be embarrassed to not copy them, even if you don't care, or you're just going to have to own the fact that you are a central pillar to a fascist central government push from Israel and America for the global hegemony to yield and say yes. And that's why when David Lammy is posting that he's with JD Vance and then Pedro Sanchez is being threatened by Netanyahu himself, who said, "You will be next," to Spain. Can you imagine? A whole country of Spain, he's threatening them, saying, if you don't pipe down, you guys are next. It is extraordinary. And that's when Spain is causing a lot of issues. They're throwing out ambassadors, they're letting immigrants in, they're, anti-genocide, anti-settler colonialism, and people are noticing. And the problem is you can't just now say the whole of Spain is anti-Semitic. That's why it was very good for my mental health to walk around the streets of Barcelona. And listen, I was in Soho House and there were people doing Zooms, everyone's wearing keffiyeh. I was like,
Wow.
Soho House.
For anyone who's not been to Soho House, that's not the Soho House vibe.
What's going
I
on?
can say that with confidence.
What's going
Wow.
on? I walk in and to check in to Soho House, and they're like, and I had Stop Killing Children, and they're like, "Oh my god, I love your shirt." I was like, "Where am I?" In England, you're worried that someone's going to complain and kick you out. None of that.
Wow.
Grannies are coming out of church in wearing keffiyehs, So I think but also it's at the same time I'm watching grannies being arrested because I was not in England when uh, British police were picking up everyone else for the usual words rather than the babies that are being killed. And it was such a
Still
weird
arresting
juxtaposition.
people for supporting Palestine action,
Mm,
even though that legal action has basically failed so far.
mm-hmm,
I mean, I'm trying to remember the exact states of the case. As I remember it, it's been declared unlawful.
it has.
It's kind of it's in, it's kind of in a transient situation pending appeal. But basically, it seems like the police have gone off a bit of a frolic of their own, deciding
Mm-hmm.
to still force that when
At huge
the most
cost.
recent court order is that is not a lawful. It's not a lawful order that we should be prescribing Palestine action and arresting people for holding Palestine action placards. Not least if you just put like the underlying constitutional principle of freedom of speech, like apart from whatever laws this government has passed. So it's crazy that
Yeah.
they're still
Well,
doing that.
also, Tucker Carlson, which, because he mentioned that where basically he said in the interview with Victoria Derbyshire that we are completely controlled by Israel, which has upset a lot of people. But it was a really interesting thing because Tucker, once again, and I'm not drinking the Tucker Carlson Kool-Aid, and I was reminded why I don't drink it when he posted today that he's doing a show with Russell Brand, and I was like, oh, here we go.
And
But
isn't it called like how to become a Christian in 5 minutes or
I mean,
something?
it's just it's grifty, but Tucker and the Victoria Derbyshire thing is really interesting because Victoria And Owen Jones picked it up, which I'm very happy he did, because it was the first thing that I noticed. It wasn't so much what Tucker was saying, it was what Victoria was asking. She cited Randy Fine as someone that she could use to talk about an American point of view. And, Randy Fine is by some margin the most racist, anti Muslim person in public office that I've ever seen in America.
That's a
He
very,
tweeted,
very high bar, by the way.
exactly. I mean, look at his tweets: bombs away, re Gaza. That he will take a dog over a Muslim. I mean, the stuff this man says. And Victoria Derbyshire, are you telling me that she doesn't have a researcher that would say, maybe we'll leave Randy Fine out of it? Which shows you, and she's supposed to be on the respectable end of our journalists and, faces of news in this country. And Tucker, if he's anything, he is seasoned in being viewed and in interviewing, and he just, well, watch it. It didn't go very well for her, I think.
It's this is the thing, like it's weirdly satisfying when the Candice Owens and the Tucker Carlsons, even the Piers Morgans, start to be the people who make sense, because that's how completely upside down the world is right now. But you can't get comfortable, because
No.
they still, it's like even a broken clock tells the time twice a day. It's like they
Yeah.
they're gonna go back to their not, and it's like they might be saying things that are true, but they're not necessarily saying them for the right reason. But that doesn't mean it's not useful when they do
No,
say
very
something.
useful. Listen, the tools of resistance can also be the people that you least expect, but don't let confirmation bias make you change the view of someone. Tucker has been, I mean, I won't even repeat the things he said about Michelle Obama and so many other, vulnerable groups. And we can go on all day about that. But, we still have a lot to cover. We got Coachella and Lebanon. And I just wanted to quickly say on Lebanon, because of the Overton window chaos theory. And what I mean by that, there's so much shit going on that part of the Overton window isn't just what you're fed. It's just, you're so confused. You're like, and you hang on to whatever you hang on to in terms of the information you're being smashed with, which means that a lot of people do not realize quite how serious Lebanon is. This is no fucking, excuse my language, this is not a joke. They are annexing the south of Lebanon, and they are bombing Beirut as well. And I did a video earlier on today about a child who was murdered a year and a half at her own father's funeral. What kind of people drops any bomb on a child at her father's funeral? It is an abomination. And no one picked it up in mainstream media. We had the usual TRT and Middle East Eye and Al Jazeera, but this should have been a headline news. Washington Post, New York Times, BBC, MSNBC. A child was obliterated at her own father's funeral, and her sister, who's 7, survived with life-changing injuries in Lebanon. And it was just another thing, and we move on to whatever we're being slapped with the algorithm. So please, folks, if you're listening, scream about Lebanon. They are trying to do another genocide, and certainly an annexation of the south of Lebanon.
It's really, and the numbers, I mean, this is a really, really serious humanitarian crisis. The number of people displaced, isn't it? Now, it's hundreds of thousands. I think it's more than 1 million in Lebanon
It's more than
now.
1 million. Yeah. It's more than 1 million.
It's just unthinkable. And, this is obviously in a country that's already experiencing turmoil as a result of Israel's war on Gaza, displaced people in the region, political instability, and it's just so unreal that this is a kind of addition. It's like a sidebar to all the other wars, and this is one of the issues. It's just like the attrition, the exhaustion, the news fatigue people have of having tried to process 2 years of Israeli horror on Gaza, this war with Iran, the consequences of that, and now Lebanon, who, And it's not even, as you said, often part of the conversation, although I think it really is part of the strain for Trump, because he keeps trying to distance himself from this war and say that's Israel. Like, I didn't agree to that. Um, it's a powerful example of how nobody knows what the point of this war is as far as Israel and the US are concerned. They've said
Yeah.
so many things. The reality is they have created war and catastrophe in Lebanon, a country that was not party to the talks it was undergoing with Iran. I mean, it's one thing, you're in talks with Iran and then you decide to start a war with them in the middle of your talks. That's not
Again.
that's not normal.
Yeah.
But you're not even in a kind of negotiation or conflict situation with Lebanon, and you just decide to essentially invade and start attacking Lebanon. And that's why, by the way, Israel could say, "Oh, Spain, you're next," because that is the level of chaos that they are randomly just deciding they're going to start on a country. And they're revealing themselves, that way of thinking, like, who else should we bomb and destroy and obliterate? And this is the language, and we will obliterate, we will annihilate, we will eradicate. Completely genocidal language. This is not the lawful approach to warfare
Yeah.
within the Geneva Conventions. You're not allowed to obliterate and annihilate. You're not allowed to indiscriminately destroy countries and civilizations. That is illegal. That is The Hague. That is what you will be on trial for. So the only thing that I'm grateful for is that they say it out loud, because it's going to make it so much easier for us to build those cases against them. These people are going to be in the dock, but
Yep.
that won't bring back the people who are losing their lives, losing their homes, watching their children die. And it's horrific. And I have quite a few Lebanese students that I teach, to whom I teach journalism, and it's just been traumatic having to try and help them make sense of what's happening. As journalists, as storytellers who started this, my Lebanese journalism students have already been more hyper-focused on what's happening in Gaza than most other people, because they already understand the stakes and the suffering. But now to see it turned on them and their families and their country, it's just really heartbreaking to watch. And also, this is like the miracle of the human spirit, like the way that they are doubling down and wanting to be journalists, tell the stories. And it's risky. It's really risky. I don't know if you saw today, an American Kuwaiti journalist arrested in Kuwait for reporting on the war. I mean, this is the stakes that journalists
He's a good friend
are
of mine.
facing. Oh, is he?
Yeah, he is. And yeah, I mean, there's
Shahid Eldin,
yeah.
and he was reporting on this friendly fire incident where a US plane was shot down by Israel, I think. No, three US planes were shot down by Kuwait, who mistook them for for incoming Iranian fire. And he was reporting on that, and he's now been arrested in Kuwait, which has a dodgy track record on freedom of speech, to put it mildly. But this is the reality, that the people that we're relying on to tell us the truth about what's happening are being persecuted, and we're only getting the tip of the iceberg, because we don't know how many journalists have been killed for sure. We don't know how many journalists have been arrested for sure. We definitely don't, and we'll never know how many journalists decided not to go and report in the first place because they were scared that they might die or get arrested. That chilling effect you can't measure. So it's a deliberate attempt to stop us being able to find out what's happening.
And the CPJ, Committee to Protect Journalists, has been just, I mean, they've made a statement about Ahmed, and I hope that helps. But I think of all the journalists that have just been assassinated from before the genocide, Shireen Abu Akleh, all the way till today, right? There has been that just not one Israeli murderer from the IDF has done a single day's jail time for killing journalist after journalist after journalist. These young men and women who hold their microphones and a camera, and their crime, this is a thing that's just chilling to all of us. Their crime is truth itself. And imagine reporting on the annihilation of your own people. It's hard enough reporting in an active war zone, but you're having relatives literally dying whilst you're on camera, and you're telling me that no one has received justice. So the ledger of these crimes, as you said, Afua, we can't let this. We're not going to let this go away. And whether it takes 10, 20, 30 years, the good thing is about this specific situation is that they've documented all of it. And some of these people are going on holiday in Thailand, Greece, buying houses in Cyprus,
Coachella.
Coachella. I mean, and Coachella. So I think yes, I know time is going, but we're going to go a bit pop culture, and I wanted to add the Met Ball to this conversation as well because I think it's the same.
You love the netball fan. You love
well, it's coming up.
Samson
It's in
Brandon.
May. It's coming. It's coming up, and I'm just losing. I'm like we're crazy. But Coachella. I mean, what's the point? At this point, there was an Israeli group that called Noga Erez that performed, and it's been reported differently from different sides of every fence. And their music and the lead singer, is pretty dope. Lots of borrowing from black culture in the music, but I'm not gonna knock it. She's dope. She's very, very talented. And what my frustration is that she did this sort of wishy-washy, I'm heartbroken, broken what's happening back home. And imagine, they are by far the biggest Israeli music group. And I'm always amazed when
I've never heard of that. Had you heard of them before Coachella?
Oh yeah, massively. I mean,
You're
I
a
didn't
more
even know.
adventurous music buff
No,
than
no,
me.
but she's mega talented, and I didn't know she was Israeli when I first came across, and I found out. I thought this is interesting because everything about them you would think that they could lead and be properly anti-Zionist and build bridges, right? Really build because you have that reach, you have that audience. They could really, really say, let's find a future of shared humanity, but let's recognize what apartheid is, right? And let's recognize the history of settler colonization. And I think you can do that when you occupy that space. In fact, that's what, again, pop culture, the arts, rock, punk, hip hop has always been about that. And we'll see what their legacy will be, but that's certainly not what I've heard.
That's what I wanted to ask. So what was the set? What were the reference? I know that I saw that the lead singer performed with like a bloody nose, which is a kind of reference to stripe. I was like,
yeah, I mean,
that was some kind of reference to the struggle and the way that the burden of that struggle is being distributed, because I know Israelis are feeling it right now and are feeling scared and in bomb shelters. Palestinians have just been genocided, and Lebanese people are about half on their way to experiencing the same thing. So there is a way that could express solidarity, or there's a way that could.
Or as a mother, she's just had a baby.
Not all have that kind of feel entitled to a monopoly of suffering and victimhood when actually they have been the perpetrators in every single one of these stories.
Yeah. And I don't know whether they served. I don't. I maybe it's mandatory, so they may have been in the. I think they were in the IDF band, from what I heard. She's recently had a kid. She's a mother, which again gives her a real strong position to talk about the million children in Gaza that cannot get out, that have had 6 Hiroshimas dropped on them. 6 Hiroshimas. So, you can imagine the frustration of people when language sort of, she said, yeah, I'm heartbroken by what's happening at home. I mean, that 3 weeks ago, someone put out cigarette butts on a baby and drove nails into that baby. I mean, let's be real. So, I don't think they're moving the needle, but they're very, very popular. And, my hope is
this is just personal, but I get like, okay, let's take Justin Bieber, who was another big headliner. So I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if he's ever said anything political ever. I'm not, as you can probably tell, I'm not a believer. I'm probably too old I was like
he posted that he stands with Israel
when he was a little boy. So he's a Zionist. So
no, but he posted that, and he posted the wrong picture, because he posted a picture of it was early on. I'll Google it. Oh my God, he's a disaster. I don't know if he stands for anything.
My point is, I kind of get the vacuous pop star who doesn't stand for anything and doesn't say anything. Obviously, it's not my thing, but like that exists. And then I get the pop star who uses the platform, and there are lots of examples of this, who put themselves out there to say, I actually am about something, and like, this is a hill I'm going to die on, because there's no point in me having this audience and this following if I don't use my position to speak up. We are friends with pop stars and artists and actors
Mm,
who use their
sure.
art and their platform to do that. They are, I think, magnificent humans. What I don't get is the people in the middle who kind of say something, but it says nothing. Like, I'm so heartbroken for everything that's happening at home. To whom? By whom? What? Like that in a way, I'm like, just go believer and say
Well,
nothing. Or if you're kind of not pro humanity, like, be toxic, like, do it properly. If you're going to do it properly, but the kind of like wishy-washy, I just want peace, which doesn't recognize like power or accountability or genocide or colonialism or racism. I don't get that. Like, say nothing if you have nothing to say. Do you know what I mean?
well, I mean, I have to. I've just found it. I mean, October 2023. He posted an Instagram story saying praying for Israel, but use a photograph of destroyed buildings in Gaza in the
Was that
background.
because he was
Fans,
trolling Israel? Maybe he was trolling Israel.
no, fans immediately pointed it out, and then he deleted it and just put praying for Israel. Later on, in October 24, a year later, he was seen wearing a keffiyeh, which
Oh,
again, yeah, I think with conviction isn't really there, so I have no idea what this
what
man.
it was. Sorry.
Yeah.
I get all these Justin Bieber fans coming after me. People really, my takeaway is that grown people like me actually really love Justin Bieber. So I wasn't used to it. Some of his songs are a vibe. They're a vibe. But with a lot of these artists, and Sabrina Carpenter, a lot of people were talking about her thing.
Mhm.
Again, like, actually on that, I'll say, so somebody at her set did Zagruta. They called it Zagruta, like and it was so weird that Americans were calling it a yodel. Like, don't these people know any
It's
Africans? Like,
just so painful. I
it's
mean,
quite, and I listened to this whole conversation. Americans were like, how is she supposed to know? It's so unfair to expect her to know. And I'm like, how are these people so ignorant? Don't you know anyone from the Middle East? Don't you know any Africans, like any part of the continent? North Africa, South Africa, West Africa, East, like, we all do this in our cultures. Don't, like, how are you so sheltered? And you're and on top of that, like, there are people who are sheltered, who don't live in diverse places, aren't exposed to different cultures, fine. But you're a musician, and most of your music is borrowed from these cultures. Like, so how can you be an artist who pilfers like the vibes, the beats, the rhythms, the melodies, all of the history from these cultures, which also, by the way, are rooted often in resistance?
mhm,
Even putting that to one side, just the sound, just the vibe, and then you know, like, nothing about the
yeah,
culture, to the point where when somebody is like enjoying themselves in the language of their culture, you're like, ew.
yeah.
I just
It
find it
wasn't.
like,
It was. Yeah. It was.
so,
Yeah. It wasn't a good look. I mean, we need to. I mean, we should do a whole pop culture episode. I mean, going back to Bieber, he was close to Usher. Do you see Usher's toxic as hell statement? It's basically saying he supports Puff Daddy. Did you see that? And move.
actually, I was alerted to something even worse, which is, I don't know if you saw that African Bambata died. I think this week.
Yeah, I saw something. Yes, that he had passed. Yes, yes.
So you know that he was basically accused of multiple incidents of sexual abuse against boys and young men.
No,
Um,
I don't know. Wow,
it's
Africa
and it,
Bambata.
yes,
Oh no,
during
I've
his
never heard
lifetime,
this.
right? Because I feel like our community decided, and I say ours in the broad diasporic term, decided to protect him, to protect his legacy as a pioneer of hip hop, that mattered more than the abuse of children. And I think that's on us. And I think what KRS-One honestly made what Usher did pale in comparison. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was basically like, we need to learn how to not criticize our heroes, how to not criticize them, how to protect them. And it was literally like, take everything that humanity has learned about accountability and protecting children and protecting victims of sexual violence, and then flip it. That's what KRS once said. Like, we need less accountability. We need to listen to victims less. We need to protect men who abuse because they make great music. It was, honestly,
Wow.
I have no words. And, it's really extreme, but I think to the usher trying to defend Diddy, there is still a strain in our community where it's like
Massive.
a fragility. Like, we can't afford to have our heroes tarnished. So we're going to rally around, even if it means
Yeah.
ignoring that a child was harmed or a
Yeah.
woman was
Plenty
abused.
people are still listening to R. Kelly. Plenty. In fact, they stopped for a while and they're listening to it again. I have friends of mine who are like, Misan. And I was like, listen, 12 Play is one of my favorite albums. I will never listen to it. I'm sorry, man. I'm not going to do
This is
it.
where I'm going to get in trouble, and I don't want to talk about it, so I don't know why I'm raising it. But I am going to struggle a lot with Michael Jackson. I'm going to struggle a lot with
Yeah.
Michael Jackson. My first words as a 1-year-old were Jaikal Maxon. So
Yeah.
I think before I said my mother's name, I said his name. That is a really tough one for me. I know the movie's coming out. I'm going to see the movie. There are all these
But
documentaries.
I do think he's in a different category in terms of R. Kelly's actual conviction, and it's one of those things Michael Jackson, and I've been back and forth with this with a million people about, some of his hardcore fans seem to have answers to everything. And I always say, in terms of, if you even just very light safeguarding, and children were not safeguarding, you don't have an adult man, whether or not he's asexual.
And that's
or
not,
not.
it's not a debate.
Yeah.
Nothing, no one, no art, no nothing could make me be like, yeah, I can cope with a world where there's no safeguarding for children for this one. Like, no, that's not okay. Oh, that's
we have 3 minutes, Alpha, before you go, because I want to just say something about my Met Ball madness, because it is on.
Okay, give us Met Ball. I love it when you rant about the Met Ball. I find it.
Well, it's on
Also, because
Monday.
it's like so remote from me that it's like an esoteric subject, where for you, I feel like this is actually a tangible thing because this is a place where you would conceivably be.
Well, it's. I always joke that every year feels more and more like the Hunger Games, but this year in particular, I just find it astonishing that anyone with a profile is wanting to be anywhere near this. And it's on Monday,
Not anyone, all of them. They will all be looking up to that thing.
It's on May the 4th, and it's the theme is costume art, focusing on 5,000 years of dressed bodies.
That's a not theme, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Paired with the opening of the new Condé Nast galleries, right? Co-chairs are Venus Williams, Beyonce, Nicole Kidman, and Anna Wintour. Honorary chairs, and this is where I'm just like, can someone just please just send me to Narnia? Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez, right? And my point is, the world is at war. It may not be World War III. The world is literally at war. The disparity in wealth is more than there has ever been in the modern era, as we know it, right? In the last 100 years, there's extraordinary disparity of wealth. And we're actually going to do the Hunger Games, because I'm going to watch influencers, friends of mine, pretend nothing is going on for 3 hours and let the peasants eat cake, Abby. And I just find that amazing, because the people that I've been begging, and it's not even, especially black celebrities, people of color. I understand why you're scared of Gaza, because there is a big cost, but these people haven't said jack shit about Congo or Sudan or what's happening in parts of their own countries. They haven't, and they're going to be there.
Personal question. It's actually funny because since I've been doing this conversation with you, like, when I post and I say things, it's, it's like contained. Whereas when I talk to you, I say whatever I'm thinking. A blessing and a curse. And I'm just curious. So, like, sometimes we lay into people who've taken the OB or the MB. We agree about that. I think it's indefensible. But I've got loads of friends who've taken OBs and MBEs. So I'm just curious, like, when we say these things, or when you say these things, or when you kind of like, I mean, that's a strong critique of the Met Gala, which, by the way, I agree with every single word. When you now go and speak to these friends who are going, like, do you have the conversation? Do they feel a way about the views you're expressing? Do you bring this conversation to that, or is it like separate? Like,
Well,
we
I
talk
mean, the
about
first time I every
talk
time I
about it.
see them, the first thing I do is like, why the fuck aren't you talking about genocide? That's the first thing I do. I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? Let me write your post for you, and we can start with Sudan. How about that? Then we can try a little bit of Congo, and we can tiptoe. I don't even have because I'm so, my thing is that these, you know,
I
brown
love
and
it.
black
You're
bodies,
like
right?
the gateway drug. You're the gateway drug
Yeah,
to them,
and
like posting
and I've actually
content.
seen a friend of mine dive in a very fancy event. He saw me and he actually dived into the toilets because
That is
he's like,
such.
"Nah,
That's such a problem.
I'm not facing Misan."
If we run away from you,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
gone.
because I'm like, "Hey, what's up? What's up? How are you doing? It's good." So the genocide. What's up? Talk to me. So I just don't even, with the Met. I mean, look, I don't give a flying f about that. It is so vacuous. And 200 boys were crushed in mines in January and then in February in Congo, for God's sake. And you're going to call me to go and photograph you wearing clothes that, the value chain comes from brown bodies that are paid less than $1 a week. Are you mad? Who
But
raised you? It's
I,
not
I
good.
I agree with you, but I also, this is where I struggle. You could make, maybe to a less extreme extent, a similar case about almost every event we go to in that world, like every Oscars, BAFTA party, studio event, like all of these red carpet things. Like, there's something that I find grotesque about. I'm critiquing myself here. Like, I wouldn't go to the
But
Met
you
Gala.
don't. You shouldn't.
There
You
are
should.
loads of events we both don't go to, but there are some that, it's not that overtly disgusting, but I still feel like the world is on fire. This is
Yeah.
crazy. I know there are people somewhere in this room who are enablers to this mess, and I'm here. And it's kind of part of my job to be here, and there are reasons for me to be here. But it's like, in an ideal world, I wouldn't be in any place that I feel is
Yeah, but
tarnished.
Afua, you're not an enabler. You should, when you go into those spaces, it's really important because you represent something completely different. And if you were to be awarded a prize in some of these places, I know what you would say on stage. I remember when I was in the Oscars, and I was like, I wish a motherfucker would give me an Oscar
I've
because
written my
I
speech.
would. I mean, I was gonna burn that place. That like I was ready.
I've
My
written
speech.
my speeches already.
I remember reading my speech to my wife, and she was like, you're gonna say that on stage? So we can't break down the pillars of the mess that we're in without sometimes running or walking through those corridors. We can be Manchurian candidates. I'm not foolish enough to think everything is going to just be hunky dory, but say something. These people have said nothing. You and I say something all the time. I'm not asking them to be you and I. I am saying once a month, remind people whilst you're promoting this extractive capitalist machine that makes you hyper wealthy, once in a while, just remind people that maybe we can stop black boys from being crushed in mines or slowly having the oxygen leave the mine of which the cobalt powers our whole existence, and they take their last breaths in darkness. What the hell? Say something. Say something. That's all. And most of these folks have money for 10 generations. So it's not like as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what they're risking. They're fine. So say something. Otherwise, who are you? I keep saying I don't want to sound like a priest, Afweb, but honestly, if an old person falls down in front of you, you're going to say, "Are you okay?" You pick them up. If a child is crying, you're going to say, "Can I help you?" If you see someone in front of you that needs help, then you do something. So how on earth can we now have this cult of individualism that allows us to normalize this shit? I'm sorry. That's what I'm saying. That's what I say to anyone that wants to talk to me about it. And I'm like, if you want to debate me, please help me understand why I should be quiet about all of this violence and death, and much of it perpetrated to people that look like you and I. Please let me know. And if it's because of your check or your fear of not being allowed into the room that you've worked your whole life in getting to, then you maybe need to ask yourself that in this fleeting life, when you draw your last breath, what exactly will you think it was for? Finish. Nothing else.
Amen. Amen. Look, you took us to church, Miss Anne. Come on. Your mummy would be so proud.
Mommy, I'm a Christian. No, I'm reading the Bible. I bet.
That's the main takeaway.
Trust me, there'll be one auntie in this screen that's going to screenshot this shit and send it to my mom saying, you see, you see.
We'll pray for you. Okay. Love you. Thank you for
Always.
everyone.
Always. Thank you all. We'll be back.
Bye.
Bye. Am I here alone? Am I live? Shall I dance? Shall I dance for you? Am I live? Are they still live? Hey, but wait, let me leave. You guys, look after yourselves, right? If you're here, it means you have a heart. Look after yourselves. I'm outie.